everybody. So excited to do this training today with none other than High Level's very own Paulson. Welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Ali. And if you are new to the high level community or the marketing space, you are in the right place, listening to Ali and a lot of the resources that she has and courses and programs and everything. And I promise you, you will be on your way to being successful.
I appreciate that. I think you and your team are absolutely amazing. So, you guys are always giving us all the tools that we need to really do the best possible job in the least amount of time and effort, which I always appreciate. So, I know today we are going to be talking about SaaS. And this is something that is obviously taken the high level world by storm. I think in the tech space in general, you guys have really done something very unique with the SaaS program. But I think that there is still so much that people are figuring out about how to actually make SaaS work and what to do to grow this side of their business. Maybe things to avoid as well. I've done it myself, and I'd say my overall thoughts are it's not as easy as people make it seem when they're talking about it. Yes, in theory there it makes it way easier than creating your own software to sell, obviously, but it is not as cut and dry in terms of really understanding the best possible setup for you for your business, knowing what you are going to be responsible for after you start to offer this. And I think the big one, how to sell it, how to really make this a bigger part of your business, whether that's the business you want to grow itself, or maybe it's the bolt on to your existing business that you want to be able to leverage. So I'm going to let you take it from wherever you feel like is the best step. To me, it's really explaining what SaaS is, who it's best for, and then we can go into the best SaaS practices.
Absolutely. And Ali, you hit it right on the money. A lot of people make this sound really easy, and sometimes they don't intend it to be like very basic or elementary. Click a few buttons, run a few ads, you're going to have a ton of low ticket SaaS customers. That's not reality. But what I would tell you is once you have cracked the code on how to actually fulfill a SaaS customer and properly onboard them and give them that experience with good adoption, you'll see the power of the business model. The agency game is absolutely fantastic. It's a cash cow business, but we know that there is always churn with agency services, depending on the disconnect between you and the client, depending on technology, depending on what was promised versus what was actually delivered and price points and things like that. There are a lot of different variables that make the agency services sometimes very difficult to fulfill. It doesn't mean there's not a place for it. I still think agencies should sell marketing services at the end of the day. That's
Yeah.
definitely a need. But a lot of times, leading with SaaS as a entryway, as a gateway offer, is not a bad idea. And maybe what we can do is talk about three things that I always hear about when it comes to SaaS, Ali. One is what are some good gateway offers that make sense, right? And number
Absolutely.
two is what are the main best practices around client onboarding and client experience? And maybe number three is how do I migrate into SaaS from being a traditional agency? Those are the three main
Sure.
questions that I always get talking to thousands of customers.
Yeah, and that aligns perfectly with really what we try and focus on first, which is always the offer. If you don't have a great offer, you are going to have a hard time selling anything. That doesn't matter what type of business you're in. So, I've seen a lot of different things that people have tried with SaaS. Would love to hear what you feel like are the best offers around SaaS that you've seen consistently work the best.
So when it comes to offers, I think most marketing experts, they contaminate the offer positioning by having multiple things attached to the offer. So it's like you have reviews, you have missed call text back, you have pipelines, you have calendars, you have SMS marketing, you have database reactivations. You have all these different pieces combined into one sphere of an offer. And that confuses the market quite a bit because remember, those individuals, those business owners are not spending the same amount of hours maybe you and I are learning technology, learning
Yeah.
IT, learning marketing, learning coding, learning all these different pieces where the small business owner, they're focused on their industry, they're focused on their services. So when you present multiple offers at the same time, odds are against you. You have to be very good at sales to be successful doing that. And even if you
Mhm.
did do that, it's very hard to be consistent with it because some people may say, oh, I want two out of the five things you have, or I want four out of the five things you have. And it just creates like this confusion in how your offer is positioned. So, my first suggestion when it comes to offers is going down to one specific thing that you're going to be an expert at. And you decide what makes sense. If it's numerical, I think that's better, right? If you can justify it with numbers where the price point is at, that's a gold win versus something that's like subjective, like reviews, for example. It's nice to have. It's really hard to attribute certain dollars on what each review brought to the table, right? So that's what I
Yeah.
mean by numerical offers. Go with numerical offers that you can justify. And that's the first thing I think you have to crack the code on is finding that single lane of an offer within the platform. And then I will tell you land and expand after.
I think that's a great idea. This is definitely something that I did not do when I first launched SaaS. Granted, I think to me it is more of this bolt on to my existing business. I learned a lot after my initial SaaS launch, 100%. And I have seen the excitement of a marketer because, yes, we are so excited that we have all of these tools in this one place that we can do these things that we were never really able to do before within one platform. And we do want to translate that level of excitement to the small business owner, the local business owner, the client on the other end. But it is too much for them to wrap their head around. And they're simply not going to use it, even if they're offered it. So I think absolutely paring it back. And I think what you're saying is just pick the thing that you really want to focus on. Maybe this is a CRM that you're offering. Maybe this is an appointment booking system that you're offering or tracking and attribution. I think there's definitely a lane for that I haven't seen a lot of SaaS people focus on because it's so great for that. And that's a huge issue a lot of people have. Or the reviews, like you mentioned, I do agree. It's very hard to attribute direct sales, even though we do know that sales will come with businesses with more reviews. So you're saying pick that one thing, find a way to financially justify it or let the client know what's in it for them, and then let's talk a little bit about kind
Yeah.
of price points and I guess when you recommend expanding and how you recommend expanding once you've gotten someone's foot in the door.
Yeah. So I really like the Trojan horse method, going in with one, getting your foot in the door somehow, and then expanding based on the results you produce. That's probably going to be the easiest way to get the ball rolling, especially if you don't have a lot of sales experience and things like that. Now, when it comes to price points, there are a few different ways to go about it. There's obviously the low ticket SaaS you can do around the 200 range to 500. You can do the mid ticket SaaS around the 1500 to 2500, and you can also do the high ticket SaaS, 10,000 or more, depending whether you're working with franchises, maybe you're offering consulting. But the key is the way your fulfillment assembly line looks like. What do you want that to look like? Are you a person that don't mind the technology, don't mind getting your hands dirty and building out automations? If that's the person you are, it's okay for you to go the mid ticket, the high ticket SaaS, where you have a little bit more of a fulfillment to build out. But if you're looking at it from like a lifestyle standpoint, we're like, you know what? I want to put in 30, 40 minutes for each client. I just want to set up and go. Then low ticket makes sense. But the reality is, there are businesses that will pay thousands and thousands of dollars to help them automate their business. If you're a franchise and if you have a person that comes in and automate their entire business, it's so valuable to them. So there's always a price point that is suitable for each industry. It's up to you on depending on the fulfillment, depending on the assembly line you create of how you want to navigate the prices. but I do think it's better to be the lowest or the highest. There's almost no advantage in being in the middle of the pack when it comes to price.
I think that is very good advice. One thing that is interesting is that you branded the low ticket as a $200 to $500 price point, which is low ticket. But I think when most people think low ticket, they're thinking like under $100. So I have seen
Sure.
some SaaS companies that have taken that approach. And
Yeah.
from the outside, it appears that it's working well for them. So there's, like you said, be the lowest or be the highest. I do think that there is a lot to be said for that. But that brings on kind of this other challenge in people's minds is they believe that's too expensive. The 200 to 500, I think automatically they're like, people really pay this. And I think
Yeah.
the answer, as we both seen, is absolutely yes. You've got one group of businesses who has no idea how to do this if their life depended on it. They need it and
Yeah.
they're willing to pay for it. Then there's this other group of businesses that they're attempting to do it and they're spending more than that, most likely just on their existing tech stack with a bunch of different programs and tools. And it's not giving them the outcome they want. And it's too confusing. It's too overwhelming. So I think within most of the potential clients out there, they are willing to spend the money. What have you seen that works well in that $200 to $500 price point in terms of what that offer looks like? And then again, you mentioned doing the high ticket where there's consulting involved, but let's say like that mid range or that $500 to $1,500 and then that 200 to 500. What did those offers look like or what should they look like in your mind?
Yeah. So let me bring some clarity to something that a lot of SaaSpreneurs don't really highlight. There is a big difference between your gateway offer and your core offer. Okay. Your gateway offer is what brings them into the business. Doesn't mean that's the ideal package that they're going to stay in for the long haul. So, for
Yeah.
example, when I say tuna, the 200 to the 500 range, I'm not talking about the gateway offer. I'm specifically
Mhm.
talking about the core offer that
Gotcha.
you're going to stabilize each one of your customers in. There are
Okay.
people in our ecosystem that sell high level or a certain aspect of high level for maybe $37 lifetime. And they give
Yeah.
away one feature and there's nothing else to it. It's bare bones. And then they bring them in to a core $300 offer. So maybe it's
Yep.
something that you just attract them into the ecosystem, but that's not
Uh-huh.
really a revenue maker. That's really just a gateway for them to be able to see and have an experience. It's almost like the free trial. If you look at high level, our gateway offer is free trial. But imagine if we priced our gateway offer at $50, but our real actual offer is 297 plan. So
Yeah.
that's the difference that I would say that a lot of agency owners and SaaSpreneurs look over, but that's an important piece. Now, when it comes to your core offers being that low ticket, I think the key is when you look at a company like Podium, for example, they stabilize a small business with basic needs like pipelines, SMS marketing, a consolidated inbox, reviews, maybe a web chat in their website, and maybe something like missed call text back or something, right? And these 4 or 5 big features is really all you need to get the most amount of adoption without worrying about churn, right? If you can get them to use 4 or 5 different aspects and features of your tech stack, you're probably in the clear. That takes about at least 14 to 30 days after your initial onboarding. They have to sometimes maybe you download the mobile apps, maybe sometimes log in multiple times to understand the different pieces. But your question of what are some of the best offers in that low ticket, mid ticket range, I think it's going to change between the industries. But one of the biggest one I like recently is the missed call text back. The missed call text back is a feature inside high level that you can simply turn on that a business owners can see how many missed calls are coming into the business and how you're fielding those missed calls with a quick, sudden response on a text message workflow. Now, if you can go to Ali and say, "Hey, Ali, I know you missed 100 phone calls this week. I've been able to respond to 80 of them right away. And because I responded quickly, 30 to 40 of them requested more information, or they did a direct appointment, or they did a direct order, for example, maybe you're a restaurant or something. That is a better solution than just not answering the phones at all.
Yeah,
If today, if you get on GMB and search something or Yelp or whatever, if somebody doesn't pick up the phone call, you're just moving on to the next person. That's it. That's the loss right away. There's no, and for small business owners, that's a big lift that you're providing just with something like missed call text back.
for sure. No, I really love that. And it's interesting because I was at my chiropractor this morning and I always talk about high level with my chiropractor. He's not on high level yet. I'm like, how good of a salesperson could I really be if my own chiropractor isn't on it yet? But I talked to him, just drip things on him, and I'd totally help him for free too. I'm just like, you're a good chiropractor. You should get more clients. And so I told him, hey, Allie, it's been a while. I'm like, I know. I think about setting an appointment almost every day, and then I'm busy. And then by the time I remember, it's after hours. And then if I wake up and I remember, it's before you're open. And I said, the one thing that I really need you to do is I need you to start texting me, hey, Allie, it's been a while. It's time for your next appointment. I need you to go ahead and schedule and send me a booking link. I'm like, if you could do that, then that would be the best way to get clients to come back a lot more frequently. That one thing right there for somebody like a chiropractor, I feel like is a gold mine because you've got a good relationship with your existing clients, but we are not sitting around thinking about you all hours of the day. And there's actually a decent amount of time I am thinking about how much I need to schedule with my chiropractor, but it's always inconvenient for me to pick up the phone and call. I need him to just put me into a workflow. I'm like, please automate your communications to me. Just let me know, hey, Allie, it's time to schedule your next appointment. It's been 2 weeks since we've seen you. Here's the link. Make it easy. It's done. I've set another appointment. You've made 2 to 3 times more in a month from me than you were going to make if you left me up to my own devices. I feel like that is a great example of taking one little feature because I didn't say, hey, Dr. Schuler, I need you to know that you can use social posting and missed call text back and Google reviews and the CRM and all this stuff. I'm like, I just need you to send me a text that lets me book. That's all I need you to do to make more money. So I do think it is paring it back, getting the foot in the door. You call it a gateway offer. We call it a entry point offer or a front end offer that the person is going to see first. And that is where a lot of people do struggle. I see them struggle more with the front end offer than with the back end offer because I think in their mind, the back end offer is that they give them all the features for $297 to $497 a month. I think they can at least wrap their head a little bit around that because that's what they're on or that's what they were on. They're like, I'm happy to pay this. So I do think it does come down to who are you serving? What is the niche that you're going to serve? What should that gateway offer be? And I guess my other question is, do you feel like you always need a front end offer or a gateway offer? Or have you seen a certain segment of businesses just go direct for the core offer?
I've seen, depending on someone's sales skills and someone's marketing skills, they can quite often go directly to a core offer, right? It
Yeah.
depends on the brand positioning. If you have a little
Hmm.
bit of social proof, a little bit of drumming around your brand that is showcased out there and people can recognize it, quite often they'll skip right through and go straight to the core offer, which is what you want. You want a paid trial or an exited trial that fast forwards without them having to be delayed in a real trial. So moving them forward is like the best thing you can do. Now the component of it that people misunderstand is what is your marketing message around your SaaS offer out there, right? Is it like us marketers? Guess what we do? We watch all the YouTube channel, we watch a ton of podcasts, we watch all this information and everything that you're inputting from a tech standpoint is probably what you're going to output with your mouths when it comes to marketing and sales. And quite often
Like
we are not
way over their head.
linguistically like clean and yeah, it's way over their head and it's just too much tech talk. But if you look at your marketing assets out there and social assets, can someone really relate to a story? What is your story? What do you share about your business in general? And if you cannot convert a story like brand out there, you're going to probably have a hard time helping people see that you're the expert when it comes to the SaaS for a local business. Now, the second thing is, do we need to niche down? I was the classic Sam Oven style, one offer to one audience, to one niche, to one everything, and one fulfillment. That was the song that I sang my dental agency as well as automotive agency. But
Mhm.
with SaaS, what I'm seeing is I think it's better if you keep yourself a little bit more open, maybe test out a couple of different industries and see what you really like in the
Yeah.
beginning. Okay. Just in the beginning. And then later on, if you put your foot down and stabilize yourself into one of the industries, it's totally fine. But in the beginning, I think everybody should test out a couple of different spaces because you never know what you like about it. You never know the fulfillment that comes with it, and I think, at least from a strategy standpoint, to go to the market, go local and focus on local only just to get the ball rolling with organic approaches before you do anything cold, at least for your beta. And if you're under like 20, 30, 50 customers, I see you in the SaaS world as someone who's still in beta, to be honest.
Yeah. No, and I think that's exactly right. It's hard for someone to go direct to cold traffic with paid advertising when they really haven't worked everything on the back end out yet. So when I did my launch, I launched strictly to my email list. I sent a couple of emails. I got my first good group. Then I stopped emailing. I was like, "Okay, I need to simply focus on what's happening here right now with what's going on before I even consider incorporating this into my paid advertising." And I'm an experienced paid advertiser. And so I think people are they're itching to go on the paid ads, but I'm like, "You're setting yourself up to actually lose quite a bit of money and potentially hurt your branding from the very beginning if you don't get some of this stuff squared away from day one." So I do like your advice of going local. You can get that ball rolling through networking groups. You can get that ball rolling through doing events and things like that. I One of the strategies that we teach in my programs is the live event strategy where it's a local event. It's free, it's educational, you're helping people. We do this with a lot of different industries, but if you're a marketer, consider doing a marketing event. Put it on Facebook. We usually drive paid traffic to it. And I think you could with this because you're not promoting the software through the ads, you're promoting the event to get the right people sitting right there in front of you. It could be a local automations workshop, how to automate your local business, how to automate your small business. We're going to sit down, we're going to talk about what needs to be automated, what could be automated, how do you do it? Let's build our first automations together. Just bring your laptop, give them free trial to it, have them do their first couple of automations with you, and then pitch them, "Hey, it's you can get this and XYZ in addition to this for $97, 297, whatever it is." They've already invested time, money, energy, like just getting there, showing up, and you already know they're the right kind of person. So I do love live events. It's a great way to get people face to face with you. And then you can have them ask those questions that someone may only ask face to face, which is going to give you like ammo for your marketing arsenal. You know what those questions are. You can incorporate that into your sales page, your VSL, your ad copy, whatever it is. So I think that's a really cool one, but definitely word of mouth networking. You can probably do quite a bit on the SaaS side just with that. And I do think there's a level of trust that people feel with a local provider too. They like the fact that they know the person that they're getting this through and that they feel like if they need something, if something's really not working, that they're going to be able to reach out to them. I really like that a lot. Do you feel like there is a an equal opportunity between the people who want to be what I call like complete hands-off SaaS, where that's all they're doing and they're not doing coaching, they're not doing consulting, the coaching, consulting plus SaaS? Do you feel like those are just both equally great opportunities designed for different types of people, or do you think that there is more opportunity in one of those two spaces?
Yeah, so I actually think that if you go down the coaching consulting route, it's harder to scale because you're selling time. But there's a timing in when you could do that. So if you're not already established and you don't have a lot of authority and credibility in a local space, maybe going down the coaching consulting route for local businesses might work against you, right? So it just depends on who you are and where you are and what kind of business you want to run. I personally think the SaaS, your hands off limits, is more scalable now, but that comes with some territories of having to support them indirectly, having to do tickets, having to onboard them properly, having to help them troubleshoot issues from a tech standpoint. So that it comes with a different territory. But it just depends. It depends on the industry that you're serving. If you're working with chiropractors, they're probably not going to get on a consulting call with you regularly. They might do one once, but they're not looking for consultative type of approach. They need somebody to just check the box off and handle it for them. So it just depends on the market. Now, if you go after unsaturated markets that don't have a lot of marketing knowledge, right? So let's say, for example, an allergist, right? Not a lot of marketers go after allergists, and that's an industry that is a specialist and they work off of the family medicine docs and things like that. So they don't even do direct advertising much. I'm just giving a random example.
Yeah.
An allergist, it might work in your favor to go down the consultative route because they need to be educated around the marketing sphere before they can become an active buyer, before they can become a long-term customer for you. So sometimes the consultative approach works in your favor. Depends on which industry you're going after. But it comes down to something so simple. Do you want to sell your time and build a fulfillment like that? Or do you not want to sell your time?
And I guess when you say that the hands off model is not selling your time, you're still selling time in a way, but maybe it doesn't have to be your time. It can be someone else's time. So, in terms of support, is
Correct.
really what I'm thinking here. And I think to me, that's the
Oh,
biggest
yeah.
misconception that people have around SaaS. So, I will say my group program, Local Marketing Mastery, I do sell coaching to chiropractors and real estate agents and contractors. Lots of different businesses that people traditionally have said they don't want to learn how to do it themselves. They want someone to do it for them. I'd say that's in some cases, yeah, they wish they could, but they've already tried and nobody's done a good job for them. And they're really over it. And they're saying, nobody cares as much about my business as I do. I'm ready to get hands on with this. So it's not for everybody, obviously, but there is a
Yeah.
consultative approach, I think, to industries that traditionally marketers have said they don't want to learn how to do this themselves. I think if you can show them why it's actually in their best interest, or if maybe you just haven't offered it to them and that's what they actually would want, but they don't know that you even have that capability. So I have also marketers and agency owners that join that program as well. And they sometimes will come from the beginning and they're like, I just want to sell SaaS. And they barely understand high level at this point. Like they have just learned
Yeah.
about the program itself. Now, they're hyped about it and I can understand the excitement, but part of what I have to do is be like, slow your roll. You are going to find yourself in a world of difficulty if you try and sell a software to businesses that you don't even yet understand yourself. You need to really have a grasp on what's going on in the platform. Otherwise, if you don't have a support team that you've hired to do your support for you, even if you use a white label support company, that's the other big one. It's, oh, if I hire do buy white label support, I never have to deal with it. So not true at all. But you need to understand it because there are going to be questions about the technical. There are going to be troubleshooting questions. There are going to be questions specific to what you have set up in it for them that even a white label company is not going to they're not going to know about. And there are things you're going to have to do to onboard those clients to get them to a place where they're even comfortable using it because technology is overwhelming to so many people. And yeah, they might get that gateway offer under their belt, but if you don't actually get them to utilize the software, they're never going to be an ascended customer. They're never going to be a lifetime customer. So,
Yeah.
what do you
And
find
also
are
don't
the
forget.
go ahead.
Sorry, I'm saying, also don't forget we're rolling out new features almost every week with another Sean coming at you live video, right? So it's a
How
never
could I
ending
forget?
lane of knowledge base.
Yeah, no, you're so right. And like I said, I literally you guys keep me in a job because you and Facebook and Instagram both. It's like, it's my job to keep up with all the changes because they are constantly happening so quick. And, you make a tutorial video, and guess what? Next week, you got to make another one because it's not quite the same.
It's
Um,
outdated. Yeah.
but the support is important, particularly if, like you said, you're offering the whole package to a client. You're going to get questions about the whole package. So, in that regard, I think you're absolutely right. Paring it down, particularly if you are newer into the software yourself, you can master a couple of features. And there are a couple of features that rarely change. I haven't seen a change in the pipeline since I started, I don't think. I think there might have been like one, like the pipeline doesn't really change very much. And I think that's a good thing. But you don't want to be messing with people's pipelines. Offering the pipeline could be great. A few of the other features, like the reviews, hasn't really changed much because there's only so much you can do with it. They don't really need to have many updates. So I think those are good in terms of dipping your toe in the water before you go full force. So what are your recommendations when it comes to onboarding, support, the combination of resources that gives the end user the best opportunity to dive in, use the software, gives the highest stick rate to the agency or the business that's offering the software?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ali. So I think when it comes to onboarding, first thing you have to remember is the timing of onboarding, right? Remember your customers that you just closed are excited to work with you. So you need to keep the energy of the excitement. So like that honeymoon phase, you don't want to let it dwindle down way too early where they're just like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get onboarded at some point," right? You
Yeah.
want to right away within 4 hours of the close, send them messages, send them resources, help them understand what are the right expectations. So if that means you recorded a small mini course for them to understand something in their industry or on automations, that's perfect, right? If you want to send them maybe an episode of a podcast that you did with another chiropractor, sure, send them something that keeps their excitement. And now the timing of the schedule for the onboarding, I don't think it should be further than 72 hours. So if you close the client on a Wednesday, don't put the onboarding past Friday if you can control it, right? Now,
Mhm.
I also don't think you should onboard them at the close, right? If you just close them at 9 a.m., leave them alone and maybe do an end of day onboarding or the next day onboarding so they actually have time to get on their computer again, have their notebooks, maybe bring in some team members and set the stage for education. And that's the first thing I would do when it comes to preparing them into that onboarding kickoff call. So that's number one. Number two is landing and expanding, right? As much as you've closed a client, more than likely you haven't closed them on everything that they need to be closed on. For example, like maybe you leaned in with missed call text back, but they don't have a web chat in their website. Maybe they don't have calendars. Maybe they don't have SMS marketing. They've never done a database reactivation. So, in a sense, I would treat the kickoff call as a discovery. You may not sell them right then and there. You may not like actually ask them to transact, but what you want to do as the business, as the agency owner, is really take notes of what are they missing, like what are the different gaps. So it's a discovery for you while it's a strategy for them. And then later on, let's say 10 days down the line, 14 days down the line, you can do a check-in call and literally list out everything that they told you that they're missing and provide a expansion solution if you want them to. Then you have the opportunity to create that stickiness. But landing and expanding is what I would focus on when it comes to the kickoff call and the parameters around it.
So, in terms of how do you actually conduct that call? Do you recommend getting hands on and helping them set up their
Yes.
profile,
Yes.
load in their contacts, all of that, correct?
Yeah. 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 So if you ask them to self navigate, unless they're a tech crowd, let's say your industry is like IT, or maybe you're working with agency owners or marketers, or maybe you're working with developers. If you're not in industries like that, more than likely they're not going to be able to self navigate that well. Even if they got through a couple of things, they're not going to self navigate. So, most
Mhm.
industries, I think you should get your hands wet and go shoulder to shoulder with them and ask them to share their screen. They need to just at least be able to know where their information is and get on a Zoom call. But I think I should go right in and go shoulder to shoulder.
I think that's really good advice. So, what about after that first onboarding call? Do you recommend
Yeah.
another onboarding call, weekly calls, daily calls? I've seen a lot of people do it different ways. And I guess one quick
Yeah.
question going back to that first onboarding call, it is ideal that they have those assets on hand. Is that one of the reasons
Yeah.
you recommend not doing it right away? You send them out, here are a list of things you're going to want to have with you on onboarding to be able to
Correct. Yeah.
effectively get rocking and rolling, correct?
Yeah, you wanna send them a preparation sheet of everything that they need to come into the exam with, right? So, it's imagine your teacher telling you in a classroom, "Hey, tomorrow is a big day, have these things prepared." And so you wanna give them that kind of a preparation sheet, whether it's through email and send them a text message that just simply says, "Hey, I sent you an email. Did you see that email?" Whatever it is, just get them going when it comes to preparing them. Now, the question of what kind of a continuous touch point should you have, right? If you're doing SaaS alone or agency services, the first 14 days, 15 days is like the most critical. Like you need to be able to provide as much touch points as you possibly can just to make sure they're stable as a user, stable as a client. So don't be afraid for the touch points at the beginning. Now, ongoing, let's say after that first month, maybe not so much unless you have a consulting package that you sold them, unless they're paying you for the additional coaching, they're paying you for that ongoing relationship. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself building their business 3 months down the line for a low ticket price, which is something that you don't want to do. So I think the touch points are great in the beginning for stabilization, but in the long term outlook, it depends on whether you're selling consulting and coaching. And you got to draw boundaries, right? Hey, like, this is what you signed up for. This is what I'm capable of doing. Yes, I have these other packages, but those are a second phase. That's not part of this strategy. That's not part of what we're trying to implement and have some expectation of what is being implemented.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's a really great idea. In terms of that additional ongoing support, if you are not providing consulting services to these clients per se, office hours,
Yeah,
tech
office
support,
hours are
things of
great.
that nature.
Yeah. Yeah, people build out communities for office hours. So tech support and coaching support and business support is two, three different things, right? Like when it comes to tech support, you should be able to have a channel that they can put a ticket in. You should be able to have, if you want to do office hours and have a small Facebook group or Discord group or a Slack channel with all your clients in it or users in it, and provide like a weekly touch point, or maybe even just drop videos in there that were pre recorded, or just share literature that helps them move forward, that's going to benefit your customers quite a bit. The other thing is, if you do webinars, if you are very savvy at webinars, do the webinars publicly and treat them as support content for your existing customers. Let your existing customers know, hey, I'm going to teach you how to build out a workflow or whatever campaign and publicize it. So then you're double dipping for net new users and stabilizing existing users. So if you're creative like that, you can take one piece of content and use it for both sides of people that are already in your ecosystem versus attracting new people into your ecosystem, and it checks off the box of additional touch points, additional experience that you're providing for the users.
Awesome. Love it. What about best sales strategies that you have seen for this? So I'm sure there's going to be a ton of them, just as many strategies as there are marketing strategies. But have you seen anything that you think this is a great approach? In part, I'm also wondering your thoughts on how much do you really customize the platform for the clients? Is that something that you feel is really important when it comes to the offer and the sales strategy as well. And I guess the support too. Like it all goes into it. Do you recommend if you're focusing on that one niche that you create the perfectly customized solution for that one niche? Or should it be a piece, like you said on the gateway offer? Like this is a piece that we've customized
Yeah.
for you and the rest you can build out yourself. So what are your thoughts on that? And then I guess we can get into more of the sales strategies that you've seen.
Yeah. So I think in the beginning stages of you building out your SaaS or even any offer for that matter, even if it's agency services, you need to be flexible. You need some agility in your offer that allows a business owner to come in and tell you and give you feedback that says, "Oh, Paulson, I wish this was different. Can you change this up?" So that beginning stages, be open to the customization, but that's really for you to perfect the offer, for you to
Mhm.
solidify what the market really wants. But once you see it being fruitful, I don't think you should lean with customization because if you go custom route, you're going to deal with all kinds of different fulfillment issues because you have a vast variety of expectations that you're setting for each customer. And you're not going to be able to keep track of hundreds and hundreds of customers who have different custom needs and every chiropractor is different. There's a $10 million
Yes.
chiropractor and there's the guy that just graduated and he's just trying to get his ball rolling, right? So I'm not a big fan of customization in general. I don't think you need to customize high level too much. I think in the beginning stages, get the ball rolling, be open to customizing certain aspects of it and get to a point where you have a product that you can stand on. And if you can
Mhm.
justify numbers, even better. And then at that point, you shouldn't have to customize. Now, maybe a year later, 2 years later, once you have a lot of social proof and you want to roll out a 2.0 version or a pro version with all the customizations all in one, now that's a different whole go to market strategy. I'm not a big fan of customization in general.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a ton of sense. So, if somebody says, I want to go full force on SaaS, I want to either make this a solid department within my business or want to make this into a business, how do I start selling this? I know you mentioned local before,
Yeah.
but in terms of like tactical options for them, what have you seen perform well?
Yeah, I think you go down the route of creating your own Dream 100 list of people that you know or possibly that are entrepreneurs in any kind of business, even someone who has an online business. See who you can automate, right? If you can put together a list of maybe even 100 people that you reach out and say, "Hey, Paulson, I want to do a free workshop for you and do an online event or do an online summit where you bring in 100 people into a Zoom session and take the recordings of it, create social content around it, create a funnel around it, throw it into YouTube channel, and just go down the route of marketing." And I think that's the first stepping stone you create, right? Create the messaging. And then from there, those first initial 100 people that are interested, they don't have to be customers, by the way. Those are just event attendees that you brought in to work on automations, whether they signed up for a trial or not. It doesn't matter. You're starting to create an environment that you can market. And that's what you need to first start off. And I think that's the most interesting way I've seen a lot of people launch very fast. But for that, you need to have some confidence to be able to jump into a webinar, put together an online event role on the fly, and do an automations workshop in a certain area. And it could be a local area. It could be, hey, we're doing a all Dallas, Texas automations workshop for all small business owners. Come in, it's for free the first time. We just want to bring you in, say hello, do an automated webinar or do a live webinar, whatever you feel comfortable, and get people interested. If 100 people jumped on a Zoom with you and you're teaching automations, and if you cannot convert 10 people into a trial, there's something wrong with the content or the voice
Yeah.
behind who you are. And that's
Mhm.
okay. Try it again. Take a look at it. Watch the recording, ask them for feedback, and reiterate and do another event. Almost every single month, if you did this for 4 or 5 times, I think you'll start seeing some serious trials in no time.
I think that is one of the biggest maybe misconceptions that people have, not just about SaaS, really about marketing in general, is hey, I tried a webinar. I didn't get any new clients. Webinars must not work. Or hey, I did a live event. I got people to my event, but nobody closed. There must be something wrong with live events. Any strategy that you employ, you've got to give yourself some grace that you may not be that great at it when you first start. Most people aren't that great when they first start. There are people that are definitely more natural when it comes to presenting content, creating content. That is true. But know which type of person you are. If you feel like live content's not really a good fit for you, guess what? Create the best pre recorded webinar you can, and you work really hard to get that one pre recorded webinar, but you are going to have some real human feedback on it. Like you can't just create an automated webinar from day one, hope it's perfect, and say, oh, this better sell because I'm not redoing it. Like you've got to be willing to make the optimizations. I've got 2 funnels that have been running for almost 2 years now, and I'm, like, heavily optimizing the back end of them. They're fine on the front, they're fine as is, but we don't want fine, we want amazing, but you do have to get to fine before you can get to amazing, so just make sure that you're getting
Yeah.
some traction. If you're getting some traction, that's a great sign, but even if you're getting no traction, as long as you're following the advice that Paulson has laid out here today, like, again, have to make sure the building blocks are in place, follow the basic best practices, then say, I'm going to pick that one thing, but I'm committing to this strategy for 6 months at least. And I am committed to making this the best it can be because if you never optimize, that one thing never has a chance. And it's unfortunate because it's actually quite a bit of work to set up a new strategy for anything you're doing. You don't want that effort to be for nothing. You want it to be for something, but the setup is not all the effort that goes into a great marketing strategy. It's only the very beginning, unfortunately. So I think that's amazing advice. Thank you so much for sharing this today. I think high level and SaaS is only going to continue to grow and grow. And the cool thing about what I've been able to do is I see not just the marketers and agencies in my program, I see the local business owners too. We all work together hand in hand. And it's very interesting how the local business owners are getting into SaaS as well. So this is not just a marketer agency thing. This is something where you're a contractor. You really master this for your own business. You see how much it could help other contractors. These contractors are not your competitors. There are people all over the country. You can get in on the SaaS opportunity within your niche, within the people you're already going to network at conferences and with your vendor relationships. So just keep your mind open to the possibilities, but just know you've got to, crawl before you can walk. So don't try and go too hardcore before you have the basics under your belt. But thank you so much, Paulson, for sharing this. I know it's going to be tremendously helpful for so many people out there. If you guys have
Thanks.
questions, make sure to drop them in the comments or shoot me a DM if you're listening to this on the podcast or on the YouTube channel, and we will be happy to answer them. So thanks so much and hope you guys have a good one.
All right.
See you
Thanks
later.
for having me, Ali. I appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
Bye bye.